Emma Frost is a powerful, confident, and complex character, and generally the things people have to go through to get to her level of power, and not only that, layered, is through living their lives while generally overcoming obstacles and facing adversity. Needless to say, although Emma has played the role of a villain and doled out some obstacles for her enemies, she has also faced a lot herself. Today we're going to take a closer look at what hardships she has suffered as we count down the top 10 worst things that happened to Emma Frost. Not even just as a person, but also as a character. Alright Emma's fans, let's get counting and face some of this injustice. Number 10. Mind wiped. While in current continuity this might not make as much sense given many people believe that Emma is in fact more powerful than Charles, and I've actually seen her kick his butt before, regardless of your opinions on who would win in a telepathic battle, this happened before Emma was as developed when it came to her skill set. Professor X and Moira McTaggart came to visit Emma when she was working as a dancer at the Hellfire Club. Being Emma, she didn't have any shame in what she was doing and used her powers to get more money out of the gentlemen who came to the club to watch her dance. She tried to use this trick on Charles, who offered a different path for her, a place at his school. When Emma refused his offer, he ultimately decided to wipe her mind of their ever meeting. Whether this was for better or worse remains to be seen. Charles thought it was for the best, but I would argue having your mind wiped against your will is never really a good thing. Number 9. Was lied to. I mean, everyone was pretty much lied to about this, but you'd think at least Scott would share his plans with the woman that he loved. He didn't though, because he knew what Emma's answer would be, so rather than open up, he kept his mouth shut and kept it from her. What am I talking about? Cyclops and Wolverine's creation of the X-Force. While Emma is all for moral ambiguity, even X-Force for her and many others was seen as a general bad idea and taking things a little too far. The other thing of course was that neither she nor any of the other X-Men were even consulted on this decision, which of course made the whole revelation a lot worse. And before we move on to our number 8 spot, just a quick reminder to give that like a click if you haven't already. Seriously, if you click like, it makes your day better. It is statistically proven. Number 8. Choked by Medusa. I mean, this whole event was not necessarily great in my opinion for Emma or the X-Men or the Inhumans. Not a high moment overall. At the very least, just the outfit that Emma is wearing here is something else. Super protective shoulder pads and a giant belt buckle. It's definitely a statement. I'm just not sure it's a good one, especially when I'm used to Emma being such a fashionable character. That belt buckle is the thing that really bothers me in this outfit. Why is the belt buckle so big? It's like as big as her almost her entire midsection. Who made that belt? Is it made for giants? Anyways, it's fine. It just really bothers me when belt buckles are that big. What happened to Emma in Inhumans vs. X-Men that was really so terrible though, was how she ended up getting her butt kicked by Medusa, who used her hair powers to choke Emma. Emma was unable to use her telepathy while in her diamond form, and despite being in her diamond form, actually could have potentially been crushed by Medusa's hair if not for the intervention of Havoc, who saved her here. She was already beginning to break actually under the pressure when he showed up. Whew! That was a close one. You can see a piece of her fall. I don't know what piece that was, but hopefully nothing too valuable. Number 7. Betrayed by her lover. For a guy who loves her, Scott sure has a funny way of showing it during Avengers vs. X-Men. Granted, he was not himself here as he was possessed by the Phoenix Force, but it still really sucked. Also, Emma was possessed by the Phoenix Force at the same time, so I feel like he doesn't get that as an excuse for this one. Emma and Scott were the last of the Phoenix Five to be left standing, wielding the immense power of the Phoenix Force. But while Emma was still relatively doing okay and kinda holding her own with all this power, Cyclops had his mind corrupted and was starting to turn dark. Driven mad by the influence of Dark Phoenix, Scott turned on Emma, taking all her power for himself so that he had enough power to do what he believed needed to be done. And then he used that power to kill Professor X, who tried to stop him. Although I don't think Emma would have minded this part terribly, as she kinda does tend to blame Charles for messing Scott up. So she'd probably be like, well, that's what you get for messing Scott up as a kid, which is evident later as well when she telepathically kicks Charles's butt, and I love that fight. X-Men legacy so good. Number 6. Assassinated. This was revealed to have happened at the very end of issue 139 of New X-Men. Emma was shot while in her diamond form with a diamond bullet strong enough to basically shatter her. The horrifying thing was that while not physically alive, her consciousness actually still resided and was essentially trapped within her shards. After an investigation and Emma being returned to life by the efforts of Beast and Jean Grey, it was revealed that Esme, one of Emma's cuckoos, was the one who was to blame. Esme, being one of Emma's students, made this a painful revelation, but it also likely would have been horrifying to be reduced to just bits of consciousness trapped in shards and then be reassembled by Jean's Phoenix Force fire. This whole thing sounds pretty terrible to me. Number 5. Jean Grey broke her. When it comes to the rivalry between Emma and Jean, it's something that has always been there. Even now in Krakoa, when everyone is evolving and moving forward, there is still that spark of competition between the two women, even though now it's at least more of a respectful one than one of pure hatred or distaste. Back when Emma, however, had a psychic affair with Scott, who is Jean's husband at the time, the two were literally like fire and ice with one another, complete opposites and true enemies. The revelation that Emma and Scott were having an affair behind Jean's back caused Jean to completely go off the handle. She brutally, telepathically attacked Emma while trying to get to the bottom of what happened between her and Scott in Hong Kong, making her relive some of her worst traumas to mentally torture Emma, and in the end leaving her broken. Emma was left seeing herself as shallow, spiteful, and manipulative, believing, like Jean, that she was completely in the wrong and losing her sense of confidence and her own high self-esteem. Messing with Jean's relationship left Emma not just burned by her fire, but scorched. In other words, you don't want to mess with Jean Grey. Don't do it. Number 4. Mr. Kendall. Let's talk about the whole teacher-student thing that went on with Emma Frost and Ian Kendall, Emma's teacher. This whole thing is just pretty awful, and also Ian was irresponsible and in the end also terribly judgmental of Emma and broke her heart, which honestly doesn't even make this whole situation much worse because it was already just so awful to begin with. Ugh. As though Emma didn't already have enough on her plate being a villain turned hero in the comics, writers felt that they needed to make Emma even more complex in her own series, Emma Frost, from the early 2000s. So Emma developed a weird romantic relationship with her teacher. She appeared to be the instigator here, but this also seems to be used as a way to kind of like give Mr. Kendall a scapegoat in the end. Like he's like, oh, I didn't want to be attracted to her, but I couldn't help myself. And he's like, you know, I really don't want this, but Emma really wants this. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what's happening here? Emma was like no student, no woman he'd ever known. That's actually something that is said in the series. Oh my goodness. The romance initially was stopped by Emma's father, Winston, when Emma was in high school, but would later resume when Emma ran into Ian again when she was attending university and was no longer his student. In the end, he rejected her not because their whole relationship was wrong, but because she was a filthy and in his mind dishonest mutant. So that's how that ended. Feel like it should have ended like, actually this is wrong, the end. But no. Number 3. Attack on her school. As Emma became more of a teacher in the comics, she at one point got a school of her own. She ran the school alongside Banshee Sean Cassidy. Her school not only contained mutants, but at one point also operated as a school for non-powered children as well. Emma did her best to keep the peace and, for the most part, was pretty successful until her sister Adrienne showed up and rocked her world. Adrienne had her own plans for Emma and the school. She terrorized both students and her sister when she planted bombs in the school and threatened to blow everyone sky high, attempting to murder many of the students there. Emma managed to fight off Adrienne while students Sink and Banshee handled the bombs, but in the end it cost Sink his life. He sacrificed himself to save human students when the last bomb couldn't be stopped, which also meant part of the school was blown apart as well. Number 2. Punished for having powers. When Emma's parents found out she had powers, rather than accept their daughter or even run in fear of her. They refused to acknowledge that any of it was truly real and decided instead to deal with the problem as if it were any other problem that children from wealthy families such as Emma's suffered. They decided to send Emma to an asylum, but not one really bent on rehabilitating its patients. Her parents referred to it as the clinic. There Emma was doped up and sedated, and it was also implied that the guards took advantage of her vulnerability as well while she was there. Eventually, Emma found a way to reach into the minds of her captors there and was able to manipulate them into helping her escape. Number 1. Her team was killed. If there is anything that Emma cherishes and loves the most, it is her students. There is nothing she wouldn't do to protect them, and honestly, in any reality where Emma has become a mother, we've seen just how fiercely loyal and protective she can be when it comes to her own children. The same sentiment in the main continuity generally extends to those that she teaches. So one of the worst things that can ever happen to her, and has ever happened to her, is to see those who put faith in her, those who she helped to grow and teach, killed. That's exactly what happened when her students got caught up in a battle involving sentinels that were teleported right into the middle of a mutant party, which both the Hellions and Emma happened to be at. Emma was left in a coma in the aftermath, and pretty much all of her Hellions were left dead. And also, remember when I was talking about how Jean mentally tortured her? A lot of what Jean tried to use for that was just basically any experiences where Emma had lost students. Basically, dead students are like Emma's worst nightmare and her worst reality. Poor Emma. What do you think are some of the worst things to happen to Emma Frost? Who do you think is her true mortal enemy, or her true best friend or love? Let us know in the comments below. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight, saying thanks for watching and reminding you to stay nerdy, YouTube.